My name is Wendy Gill, Division Vice President for NextGear Capital in the West Division. Before we get started today, again, there's room up front, and also I'd really love for this to be interactive. So as questions come up, we'll definitely have time for Q&A at the end, but if things come up, feel free to interject and ask questions. I have some of my peers with me today that will be able to help me answer some questions if I don't have the answers. Today's breakout session will cover best practices, not only where to find new sellers, but how to maintain them. And more importantly, how to ensure that they keep coming back and are loyal. The lifeblood of auctions is dependent upon its seller base. Additional sellers lead to additional units in the lane, which amplify sales. When it comes to acquiring these new sellers, how does your auction tackle that? A few very high-level facts about me. I've spent my entire life in the automotive industry or as a kid that didn't involve something to do with the automotive industry or cars. In fact, most recently, I attended SEMA in Las Vegas, where there were over 200,000 people in attendance for this 50th anniversary event. 200,000 people from across the country, all there to see aftermarket and new innovations. It was truly inspiring, and we're lucky enough to be a part of this industry. Between all of that, the love of cars is amazing, and it all starts here. Well, prior to joining Cox Automotive about 12 years ago, I had a long-time career in print, in an industry that doesn't really even exist anymore. But I had an opportunity to move over to Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book, there for about 10 years, and then most recently had the honor of making the transition over to NextGear Capital. In the West Division, myself and my team work very closely with our dealers and our auction partners. In my role, I've had the opportunity to create best practices and efficiencies on ways of growing and maintaining business. Today, I'd love to share some of those best practices and ideas with you that you can take back to your business immediately. So why are we here today? Aside from hanging out in Vegas and seeing Terry Bradshaw, well, let's explore volume and some opportunities that it represents for all of us, ways to find new sellers, but more importantly, ways to maintain them, and why leveraging a floor plan is critical to your business. And again, as I mentioned, if any questions come up along the way, please feel free to interject. I would love this to be interactive and a dialogue. So volume, we've seen steady volume over the last 3 years. Where is that volume coming from, and where is the influx coming from? As I mentioned, and I'm sure that you see this as well, auction volume has been strong over the past 3 years. In 2015, there were 16 million units that went through the lanes with a 55% conversion rate. That's pretty incredible. Now, all the research that I've done shows that there's about 10 million units that will be sold by the end of 2016 with about a 4% increase. And while I did all that research prior to the election and the results of the election, which may create some economic turmoil next year, these numbers don't reflect that. I'm not here to talk about the election or politics by any means, so I don't want to get on that bandwagon. But as you look at these trends and the percentage of volume, is your auction in line with those percentages? Internationally, there's about 360 auctions affiliated with NAAA across the country. Our dealers' percentage of volume is increasing, however, at a slower pace than our commercial consignors. We need to collaborate and commit that we're going to work with our dealers and our smaller consignors to help them gain a share of that market and that pie. As I mentioned, we saw that volume has increased about 4%. Our prices are at an all-time high. This past Saturday, I had an opportunity to meet with one of my dealers who buys and sells a lot at auctions, and he shared with me that good news, prices are still on the rise. It's good news for you, good news for your sellers. Let's ensure that we remind our dealers of this fact so they can price their units accordingly. So much is moving online and to simulcast. I'm sure everybody, as I look around this room, has a mobile device in front of them. I don't know about you, but I don't leave my house without my phone. I don't even go to the gym without that. And why is that important to us? Because we're in the we want it now generation. Everybody wants to buy and to sell at the touch, right? They don't want to wait. Look at the percentage of volume that's moving to online and to simulcast. I would say, ask yourself, do you offer this service to your buyers and sellers today? Very high level about volume. And I'm not going to bore you with the numbers, right? Let's talk about why we're really here today, and let's talk about some key ideas and best practices. Well, you might ask me, why are you up in front of us today? You shared your background. You never worked at an auction before. You're right, but I've spent a lot of time at auctions, and I've spent a lot of time with my dealer partners. So what I decided to do to prepare for this presentation was to gather some ideas and conduct some interviews with some of our dealer partners. And we put together some best practices and key nuggets that I think you'll find useful that you can take back with you. Top 5 things that we came up with to find new sellers was 1, leverage your buyer base, 2, newly registered list, social media, networking, and community events. Let's take a deeper dive into these. 1, first and foremost, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about this today, is the client experience and customer relations. 2 really important key things that I value tremendously. So first and foremost, leverage your buyer base. Leverage those relationships, and you can identify sellers that your buyers trust and like to purchase from. Because really, at the end of the day, it's all about the client experience and how we treat our clients. 2, have your team, if you're not already doing this, pull a newly registered list. I would encourage your team to meet with your potential prospects in person. 1, you can solidify that the opportunity is genuine. And 2, it's just the first step in building the relationship with that possible new seller. I don't know about you, but when someone comes to see me in person, I really value that, and I feel like they care about my business. Well, back to your mobile phones. Social media is huge, and it's just another creative way to gain some new clients. I have one of my partners, one of my clients, who told me that building a page on Facebook helped him gain tremendous amount of followers. That's huge. Also, Facebook has a new option where you can do a live feed. This same client told me that they like to take their phone and do a video of their events and post that, and then also save a copy and send it out to potential new clients. I don't know about you, but Facebook is huge today, and not giving a plug for them, but it is the way in which the world works today. Pretty much everybody is on social media. Networking in the community is huge. Anytime that you attend event, host event, I would post that as well. Think about your website as your calling card, your billboard. Do you have your testimonials from your clients posted on there? Do you have a tab where you can put your story, why someone would want to do business with you? Lay all that out, but most importantly, make sure that your website is up to date and refreshed. An additional creative way to find new sellers is hosting a training. Who here doesn't like free training? It's huge. You could videotape it, you could post that on your website, offer them some tips and tricks in ways just to price their inventory. And keep in mind, be really transparent about the services that you provide. So we've talked about where to find new sellers and a couple of tips on how to attract them, which really coincides and correlates with how to close them. And one thing that I neglected to mention was an arbitration process. Through all of this, it's important to have a clearly outlined arbitration process. Make sure there's fairness on both sides, right? You don't want to be ever accused of showing any favoritism. Make sure that you hire a really strong arbitration manager. And remember, keep in mind through all of this, transparency and customer service is key. So how do you get really great customer service? I think it's something we can agree that we all strive for, right? We want to hire the right team, train them, and they're going to take care of our clients, our sellers. More importantly, they'll help us keep our sellers coming back. You know, the CEO of Zappos was quoted as saying, "Culture is your brand." Now, say, why is she mentioning Zappos? What similarities does Zappos have to the auction? You're right, there is no similarities, but there is something that's key, and that's the strive for profitability. And this CEO learned really early on that hiring the right people, training them, having development opportunities, and providing a fun culture would help his team pay it forward and provide stellar customer service. And heck, you call their 800 number, and the first thing you hear is joke of the day. Sometimes I just call just because I want to hear something funny each day. Providing stellar, strong culture for your team helps in result in taking care of our clients, which equates to profitability for you and for me. So you can hear culture is huge, right? It's all about customer service and it's all about relationships. When it comes to being loyal and keeping your sellers coming back, what are the few things that you do, right? What really drives people to want to come back to your auctions? Well, these are a couple things that through my interviews we came up with. One is feedback. It's really important, but it isn't just asking the fee for feedback. It's about being transparent and ensuring that those that are asking for feedback explain what they're going to do with the information. Asking open-ended questions and letting the folks know that you're going to be asking for the feedback, that you're going to put some executable items in place and follow up with them. You all have a monthly list that you can probably pull from your operating system. You can see the highs, you can see the lows, you can see who's absent, who hasn't been to the auction in a while. What if your customer service team, your sales team, could reach out to those absentee sellers? Top of mind awareness is really critical. And one really important thing that I got from every single interview that I did was promotions or promos. This is something that you can leverage your floor plan provider on and your vendors. So while there's no exact course to follow on the promotion, there's a couple of really great steps to follow. So can you believe next Thursday is Thanksgiving? It seems like we were here yesterday. Time has gone by so fast. And by the time you get back to your auctions or your prospective businesses, the rest of the year is going to fly by. So the first thing that I would suggest is to put together a preset calendar for 2017. Well, what are some key things that you need to look at? One would be to ensure that you remove any obstacles that might stand in your way. Look at seasonality. Figure out when the best time of the year is for you to do these promotions, supported by your floor plan company. Find out when your competitors are having any of their sales, and figure out when there's any industry meetings coming up, such as NAAA. So you got your calendar. You could align your promotions with your anniversary sale. It could be seasonality. It could be something special that's happening in your market or community. You could leverage your floor plan company and your vendors to come to help you support the event. Because here's the key is, you need to increase your marketing footprint. And your floor plan company and your vendors have a book of business, have dealers that you may not be working with that could present untapped opportunities. And then have some fun. And it's all about making some extra money, having some incremental sales. However, Encourage your team to have fun. Have a lunch, have a drawing, have a raffle. Ask your partners to donate some of those. It isn't the lunch or the prizes that are going to keep people coming back. It's all about the positive experience that they have. Through my research, I found that through these promotions, there's about 30 to 40% in incremental sales. I think that's pretty darn good. So if you don't already have a calendar set, think about calling upon your vendors and your floor plan company to put that in place for 2017. Again, 30 to 40% in incremental sales. I think that's pretty huge. So, tying this all together, we've talked about where to find new sellers, some really high-level ways of attracting them and closing them, and why promotions are critical to increasing business. Let's talk about a couple of best practices aside from promotions on how you can effectively leverage a floor plan to grow your business. When I think about our relationship, it all comes down to those key components that I mentioned earlier: customer service and relationships. Here's what we know about clients' experience. If your sellers know that you attract buyers with a floor plan in place, a line of credit can help put more money in your lanes. More buyers with more money to spend. The ease of value of floor planning helps to build the client experience and service offering. At the end of the day, what it means to me is it's all about the client experience and the service that we provide to our customers. Make it seamless, make it easy, and a floor plan allows you to do that. Wouldn't it be really great if your customer service team had less collection issues that they had to chase after, right? Less NSF issues. Would be able to free up their time and be able to go after new sellers and to grow your business. Well, leveraging a floor plan will do just that. Less NSFs to follow up on, less collection issues. I think that is a big time saver. And lastly, floor planning can help you maximize your cash flow. As I've talked to my auction partners, what I've found is most have a policy in place that allow dealers a couple days to pay off their units. Leveraging a floor plan means that they get paid that day. There's no time, right? Puts more money in your pocket that much quicker. And let's not forget about the auction experience and that most floor plans have really easy to use technology. Like I said earlier on, we're in the I want it now era. Everybody needs to access it. If I have to wait until I get home to make a payment on something or to access a site, or I have to wait till I get back to my office, chances are I may go somewhere else. So when you're looking for a floor plan company, make sure you look for one that has the most up-to-date technology. And lastly, but certainly not least, is collaboration. Collaboration is key. You've got many vendors out there and many partners that you can collaborate with. Access their clients and their book of business. I suggest jumping on that collaboration journey now. As we're coming to a close, 30 minutes went really quickly. Want to just do very high level. So we talked about sellers, the importance of maintaining their business, how you can effectively do a promotion, conduct a promotion, and what that can do to your bottom line, as well as leveraging your floor plan. Before we close out today, if there's any sellers in the room, I'd love to hear what's important to you, and if there's any additional best practices from any of our auction partners, what's been really great that I haven't covered today? Lots. I guess I saw that dessert on the table. I didn't have any, but I think it had a little extra sugar in there. Hopefully you guys aren't falling asleep. Well, I'll close with this. First, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I have my peers, Eric Hurst from the East and Thad Sykes from the Central Divisions for Next Year Capital. So as I mentioned, if there's any questions that you have that I can't answer, I'm going to rely upon my peers to help me out. So with that, I just open it up to questions. That is automotive, yes. He created, and it could be based on geography as well, but he did a Facebook page and told me that month after month, because what would happen is that person that would follow him would share it with their friends, so they had connections with dealers, buyers, and sellers. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. Yes.
As a seller, what are some of the promos that you would promote most? Like, what are some of the token items that you think work best?
Can you repeat that question for me, please? The promotions that the auctions would do.
What are the top promo items that get them to?
So the question was, as a seller, what are the top promotions? So the promotions would be a special term plan, if you will, that the auction would host for their dealers that are purchasing. So it could be a special float, it could be the fees that are being charged. So maybe it's something that would be a special fee charge for the first 30 days or 60 days. Thanks, Thad. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope that Vegas is treating you well. You have a great evening. And if anything comes up, you find me in the hall, please feel free to ask. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.